Hey guys, welcome back. Weekend energy update. We got a couple of things going on out there. How the weekend starts is probably not going to be how the weekend ends. We've got very different vibes going on between Friday and Sunday of this weekend. On Friday, we definitely have some more, I would say, soft, gentle, nurturing, like take it easy, rest and relax, kick back, take a vacation type of energy going on. So if you can do any of those things, I would recommend doing them on Friday. Also, being in on or near around water could have some therapeutic qualities to it. We have Venus and Neptune coming into an exact conjunction on Friday, and the moon will also be transiting the sign of Cancer. So you see, this is a good day to just give yourself a bit of a break, get some extra sleep. It may even feel like a bit of a daydream out there. So that's what we're dealing with on Friday. However, as we move into Saturday, the moon will leave the sign of Cancer, enter the sign of Leo, and it will therefore reactivate this ongoing Mars-Pluto opposition that we've been dealing with over this past couple of weeks. There is probably going to be sort of a reigniting of this intensity that we've been moving through, coming through again on Saturday. And then as we move into Sunday, Pluto is stationing retrograde in the sky. Whenever a planet stations in its motion, this amplifies the energy of that planet. We're talking about an amplified plutonic energy, transformation, powerful confrontations with Mars being there. This could definitely be having us kind of turn inward, pondering some things. I do think now and over this next 5 months or so, while Pluto is retrograding, we are likely to see some very powerful, some may say paradigm shifting transformations going on within us, especially in terms of the way that we are thinking about things. This is also bringing in a pretty strong element of both destiny and karma, because the nodes of the moon are in tight aspect to both the rulers of the sign of Aquarius, while Pluto stations in the sign of Aquarius. So we are standing on the verge, I think, of some really significant personal transformations that are going to come about over the course of this next 5 or 6 months. And it could just be a rather impactful day on Sunday or this weekend. There could be something that is just happening, you know, either some powerful emotions or events playing out that are of a more profound nature. I don't know. We got a lot to talk about though, you guys. Let's put it all together, take a look in some more detail at how things are setting themselves up for us as we enter our weekend on Friday and where we're going as we head towards next week. Welcome back to my channel, you guys. Today is Friday, May 2nd, 2025. My name is Aubrey. This is your astrological outlook of the weekend, where we are narrating the shift of the ages. In this video, we're just going to take a good look at how our energy patterns are laying themselves out for us between Friday and Sunday of this weekend. And as I said in my intro, we've really got two totally different stories going on when we look at the energy for Friday, when we look at the energy for Sunday. Saturday is where that energy shifts, and we're going to be talking about both of those. There's two primary aspects in that regard that I want to discuss today that are going to be, I think, characterizing the way energy is going and flowing this weekend, aside from the ongoing additional transits that have been just kind of holding strong out there for the past couple of weeks. If you guys have been following along with the astrology, you know what I'm talking about. Number one, we have had an ongoing Saturn North Node conjunction in the sign of Pisces that has been characterizing a lot of events playing out over the course of this past couple weeks. That energy and dynamic is still active and in play, and it is relevant in terms of what we're going to be talking about in our report for today as well, because Saturn is one of the co-rulers of the sign of Aquarius, where Pluto is stationing. Pluto stationing retrograde in Aquarius is one of the big energetic ongoings that we're going to be talking about in our report for today. The other one is Venus in conjunction with Neptune that is happening in Aries on Friday. But whenever we have a big energetic activation taking place in any particular sign, it's important also to pay attention to what the ruler of that sign is doing, because it can give us indications about how that transit or aspect happening in that sign is likely to be kind of just colored. The ruler of the sign is important in how any given transit in a sign sort of plays itself out. So while we have this weekend Pluto stationing retrograde in the sign of Aquarius on Sunday, and we'll be talking about that in the second half of the report. As I said, energy shifts quite dramatically. Venus and Neptune come into the conjunction on Friday, so we're actually going to start with that. And that's happening in Aries, and Mars is the ruler of Aries, and Mars is in the opposition to Pluto, who's stationing in Aquarius. So really a lot of this energy is quite tied in. However, Saturn being one of the co-rulers of the sign of Aquarius in a conjunction to the North Node is quite relevant in the context of what this Pluto retrograde energy is going to be bringing us. And as I said, we'll talk about that as we get more towards the end of the report. But that is just one of the ongoing aspects that we've been dealing with over this past couple of weeks that is sort of defining the times right now. The other one is Uranus, who is the other co-ruler of the sign of Aquarius in exact aspect to the nodes of the moon as well. Trine to the south node, sextile to the north node in the sign of Taurus. So both rulers of the sign of Aquarius, while Pluto stations on Sunday, are in exact or very close aspect to the nodes of the moon. Now this is telling its own story, you guys, and as I said, we're gonna talk much more about this as we get into the second half of the report today, but I just am introducing this now, I guess, to lead with the understanding that with the nodes of the moon being so involved here, the nodes represent destiny and karma. There's a majorly both karmic and fated element to what this Pluto retrograde, Pluto station energy is bringing us right now, and that is going to have a lot to do with mental transformations. And if you guys have been following along with my channel, and just generally on this channel, my whole thing is narrating the shift of the ages, right? We consider the astrology as it's coming through on the day-to-day basis, how it could be affecting us personally in like our daily life and ongoings, but we also keep that like in consideration of this larger context right now of this transition of ages and how these significant aspects and transits that are coming into play right now and are affecting us and changing our lives in certain this, that, and the other way are actually also playing a kind of like larger role in this greater energetic shift and transition that is bringing us into this new paradigm and bringing us into this shift of ages. Some call it the Great Awakening. We've been in this process for a couple hundred years. We're going to be in this process further for another couple hundred years, but I do think that this really span of time that we're moving through right now is sort of like the critical threshold that tips the energetic dominance from the age of Pisces basket into the age of Aquarius basket. I think actually after we move through probably the course of like the next say like 5 to 10 years or so, it's going to become quite obvious and evident that something has changed, that the world is different, that things are not the same anymore, that we're not thinking about things the same, that we're not viewing reality the same. I think that it's going to become more and more and more obvious moving forward from essentially like this point and beyond that we have or are going through some type of paradigm shift. And this Pluto retrograde right here could really be quite influential in that regard in terms of the shifts that it is occurring to go on deep within our own psyches, and then how that is therefore kind of like spilling out and impacting the way that we are behaving in the world and in our ongoings, and you know, therefore creating all of these shifts and ripples and the way that things play out in the world that is leading to that greater transition that I just got done describing. So, you know, that being said, aside from the impacts that this Pluto retrograde may have on us personally, I think that there is, you know, in terms of the like greater cosmic story unfolding right now, like this is powerful stuff going on. Like this is important, this is powerful, this is like clutch, like shifts, activation shifts that I do think are really going to be quite fundamental in anchoring that new age, that new energy, that new paradigm that is going to continue to become more obvious and evident from this point moving forward. Okay, so lots of fate, lots of destiny, lots of like literal like cosmic story like has to happen now, and ultimately like very life-changing stuff coming through, coming about as a result of stuff that is playing out or beginning to play out right now. So the significance of the times, you guys, should not, or I mean perhaps cannot be understated, even though as we are moving through it, it may you know, not seem like it's having that big of an impact, but I do believe that it actually is. Okay, so we've got that. We've got the Saturn North Node conjunction, like that's big, that's significant. We've got the Uranus South Node trine, like that's big, that's significant. Saturn and Uranus therefore are in a sextile aspect with one another. That is also quite telling about, you know, what energy is really being indicated, highlighted, and worked towards here. Like the Aquarian energy is very prominent, especially, you know, with Pluto's placement there. We are beginning a new 20-year transit, Aquarius, Pluto through Aquarius generation, where that energy is going to be what is holding the power during this period of time. And yeah, so then we've got Pluto stationing, and on Friday, Venus and Neptune coming together. So that's the energetic rundown, everything that we've got going on out there. And as I said, I am more specifically going to focus on the Venus-Neptune conjunction in this report, and then of course Pluto station. So let's just do that. Now on Friday, that is the day when Venus and Neptune come into the conjunction, and I already said Sunday is the day when Pluto stations. So those are two super different vibes. Venus and Neptune together, that's like a daydream world, like a fantasy world, like everything is beautiful, the birds are singing, the butterflies and fairies are flying and, you know, dropping glitter. Like it's just a very it reminds me of like a Disney princess singing type of energy. It's this very high heart, artistic, spiritually connected energy. Now this is all on one hand, okay? There's always energy, always manifests across like a broad spectrum of octaves, and this is one end of the Neptune Venus energy. It can just be very daydreamy, very fantasy oriented, very like divinely inspired, super artistic, super idealistic, very like receptive and sensitive energy. Also perhaps kind of like lazy or lackadaisical, taking it easy, like Sunday drive vibes going on very much as well. Venus is our desires, okay? This is what we want, this is what makes us comfortable, this is pleasure, what we're attracted to. And Neptune, this is like being detached, getting away, taking a vacation. Again, like the ruler of the sea, being on, near, in, around water could be very appealing, very attractive, very therapeutic to us on some level. The desire to retreat, the desire to sort of just like check out and like not do things that are difficult, take a break, get extra rest. Neptune is also associated with the dream world. So I do think if you have an opportunity, this is a very good day on Friday to just give yourself that. Do something that you enjoy, do something that is like not in any way cumbersome or difficult or stressful. Spend some time around or in the water somehow, pampering TLC. And to take that up even more, we have a Cancer moon going on as well, which is also the like internal need for comfort and security and nurturing and pampering and again, like any type of self-care that we can kind of emphasize and engage in, or just also this feels to me like going to a movie, reading a book, like binge watching a show or something like that, doing something that we're just sort of not putting out a whole bunch of energy, but allowing our mind to take a break from maybe the harsher realities of things. Slow paced day. This is what the vibe is, I do think, on Friday. Now, there is a little bit of kind of trickiness to the day. Mercury in the sign of Aries is going to be in a square to the moon in Cancer. That could bring some disputes going on, perhaps within the home and family, like children could be acting up and stuff like that on Friday with that type of energy present. There could also be sort of this internalized conflict going on between how we feel about something and what we think about something, or what we know about something, or what, you know, we're being told, and or like what we need to do, like tasks and stuff like that, and like what we feel we need. So there could be kind of like this push and pull going on between the desire to just like take it easy and retreat, and maybe like our schedule or our meetings or conversations, people trying to get a hold of us and stuff that are just like causing a bit of an annoyance. But other than that, I do think that anywhere that you can just cut yourself some slack, like loosen up a little bit, you know, enjoy the day in some way. That is, I do think, what this energy is both supporting and calling for after what has been a super, super intense couple of weeks now with this both Venus-Neptune energy and also the Cancer moon going on. This is very much lush energy to me as well. I would say a lot of people are going to be throwing them back on Friday. Alcohol consumption could definitely be flowing here with this particular dual setup, the moon and Cancer, and also the Venus-Neptune vibe. So there's that as well. It could, you know, also, again, as I've been saying, there could be a tendency to maybe take it a bit overboard in terms of that type of thing. So, you know, I do think a lot of people are probably going to be having a few extra drinks, though, on Friday. Desire to kick back, relax, actively disengage. This energy is happening in the sign of Aries, which is funny because I just got done giving you guys this whole spiel about how the ruler of the sign where the energy is taking place is always relevant and important, in this case happening in the sign of Aries. And as we know, Mars is a major player right now in the opposition to Pluto, and that's what we've been dealing with over this past couple weeks, is the intensity of this Mars-Pluto opposition that has been exacerbated by the sun also happening to be in Taurus, forming a square to that energy, while the black moon happens to be in Scorpio, forming an opposition to the sun. So we've had this grand cross and fixed sign setting up. Like, that's just like really probably one of the most challenging aspects that you can find yourself encountering in our star alignments up there. And with Mars being a major player in that, again, it's like, I do think this is kind of universe giving us a break from that level of intensity. I was saying this, if you guys caught my video for Monday this week, I was also saying that sort of like Wednesday into Thursday, and specifically Thursday and Friday of this week, we were getting a break in the tension energetically with that moon coming through Cancer and the Venus-Neptune conjunction going on. However, as we do move into Saturday, that vibe's going to be shifting. The moon will enter Leo and come into a conjunction with Mars, and we will get there in a minute. But for now, let's remain focused on the energy of Friday, with the understanding that this is specifically set up to give us a break from all that we've been through and the remaining intensity that we've got to make it through as we head into Friday and Saturday, into Saturday and Sunday of this weekend. But Friday, again, pretty chill day. Be careful though. The only real red flags with this energy, besides maybe that little bit of irritation or annoyance coming from the Mercury moon square, are the red flags that can sometimes be associated with Neptune Venus energy. Remember, I said all things operate according to a spectrum, multiple octaves of the way energy expresses itself. And with Venus and Neptune together, aside from the very just spiritually connected, idealistic, compassionate, you know, dream, fantasy, everything is beautiful oriented end of this energy, it can also be, you know, taken a bit too far into like the rose colored glasses and like over idealization of things in a way that is just essentially like totally unrealistic. We can definitely, and Venus is other people, right, and relationship dynamics, so be very careful like over idealizing others, over idealizing the potential of relationship situations or projects or, you know, financial opportunities and stuff like this. This energy like this can be almost hypnotic in its charm, in its charisma, in its persuasive ability to convey like the most idealistic version of the vision that's being presented. Very persuasive sales energy that doesn't necessarily translate into reality. Okay, so something to keep in mind, things and people specifically generally aren't what they seem, or just some element of them is probably not real in the energy that's unfolding alongside what we've got going on Friday. So just don't get sold on some type of scam here. Like, this is like catfish energy, if you know what I'm saying. Not for commitments, not for investments. They will not pan out, okay? Oftentimes it is said that when we enter into relationships alongside a strong or a harsh Neptune aspect when it comes to Venus, there can be a tendency for things to end in disappointment, because Neptune breaks things down. Neptune is the fantasy. Neptune is the illusion. It's not the like long-term enduring reality of things. So yeah, just be real careful with stuff like that. But it is about enjoying the moment, okay? It is about relishing in the ideal or the vision with the understanding that it's just kind of here and now, and it's not meant to be like brought with us into like some type of long-term future. So as long as you don't set up any type of expectation that whatever it is going to last, or that whatever it is like truly, you know, set in stone or something like that, then it's a beautiful energy to just enjoy the moment. And again, like, I do think that that's more so what this is for. Now, as we move into Saturday, as I said earlier, vibes are going to shift probably dramatically. The moon moves into Leo. It does re-engage the intensity of this Pluto-Mars opposition that has been, you know, withstanding. We were building into it for a while, and then it was exact last week and over this past weekend actually, and now it's waning out. But with the moon coming through Leo and the moon functioning as a trigger for planetary activations, this will reactivate that dynamic. Okay, so, and it's also just going to fire things up, right? We've got this Leo moon coming in with Mars, which is the fire planet, coming into conjunction. I mean, a Leo moon on its own is already quite a passionate, creative placement. But then when we reintroduce the Mars dynamic and also the Pluto situation over there, it would not be surprising for there to be some maybe eruptions or explosions of either, you know, anger or creativity or passion. This is an energy though that you're going to want to watch and be careful with, because Pluto and Mars in an opposition, especially with the moon there, is definitely going to enhance energy levels. If it's not being channeled constructively or creatively into either some type of personal transformation or transformation of the, you know, environment or the world around you, or even like, again, channeled into some type of creative project or work somehow, it really could become quite self-destructive with the Pluto-Mars dynamic as well. And that's where we could really see maybe the anger or the violence or the rage, self-sabotage dimension of things come through in this energy. Again, very personally transformative, really bringing to the forefront creative power and potential with the Mars-Pluto opposition, Mars being in a sign of Leo, but it can have a self-destructive tendency and just be very like, demolition, to the destroyer, okay, type of energy if we're not channeling it properly. So, you know, be careful about how you're using your energy as we move Saturday into Sunday. Use it for productive transformation, not destructive chaos. Okay, but there's just likely to be some type of like motivation also that is coming through. Now, it's interesting because remember, we also have Venus and Neptune in a conjunction. That's happening in the beginning of Aries, right? And the moon is transiting through the beginning of Leo, coming into the conjunction with Mars on Saturday. So that actually means that the moon in Leo will also be trining the energy of Venus and Neptune in the sign of Aries, which is ruled by Mars, and the moon will be in conjunction to Mars. All these planets are tied together. Again, this to me is emphasizing a very tremendous potential actually to like tap into some of that divine inspiration in a way that is like tangibly creatable, if that makes sense. Like, this is a really good energy where we have the energy, we have the focus, we have the willpower to like take a vision and translate it into something that is being kind of like birthed in the reality, that is emerging in the reality right now, which kind of is in alignment with all of this ending and beginning energy as well. As I've been saying, there is a lot of creative potential for new things to be growing, forming, and being birthed right now, which we're going to see gain traction really over this next several months. And like, this could sort of be like the origin story of whatever is going to begin to grow in our lives like next and going forward, which is going to be radically different probably from everything that we've experienced or the way that we've lived in the past. Like, that is something that could be seated in this energy this weekend alongside these transits like this as well. But with Mars, Moon, Venus, Neptune, Aries, Leo, we could find ourselves in pursuit of something, okay? And with the Venus Neptune influence, again, be careful what it is that you're chasing after while we've got this energy coming into play. it could not be exactly what it seems. Again, so just be very careful what you're kind of being tempted to pursue here, because it could be more of an illusion than a reality. Something to keep in mind. But this is a good day to get after it if you do get kind of lassoed by that creative impulse that's coming through. If you get caught in the creative flow, this is a good day to channel energy in that regard. It could end up becoming something that is just much more significant than you may have thought when you started following the impulse. Okay, this could also be kind of like play inspiring energy, games, celebrations, occasions, like the fun times indicated here. I mean, Leo does rule fun, and it does rule play, and it does rule games and sports and competitions and stuff like that. So it also rules parties and occasions, and with the moon trining Venus, there could be some nice social gathering type situations where there's just a lot of fun times that are going on throughout the course of the weekend. But again, with the Pluto dynamic of things as well, there is still this, it's like raining really hard out. I hope that's not super loud in the background, but if you're wondering what that noise is, it's just like coming in and out of kind of like torrential downpours in the background. So anyways, that's that. But it could be with the Pluto Mars dimension of things, like the potential is also primed despite whatever fun times may be going on for these like sudden conflicts or confrontations, explosions, eruptions, powerfully opposing or oppositional forces perhaps coming to a head. People could be fighting over ideals, visions, or unrealistic desires with Mars trine, or with the moon and Mars trining Venus and Neptune in Mars' sign of Aries. That could be one of the reasons why this conflict is popping up. Also, Venus and Neptune together, another short octave of that energy can be dishonesty in relationships, so that could be a theme here as well. And I will say, all weekend, all over the next 5-6 months or so, while Pluto is retrograde, Pluto retrogrades through October, and we're going to get there in just a minute, but this is energy that is going to be exposing things. It's in the sign of Aquarius, you guys. Like, we're going to be finding things out. Even if you haven't wanted to know, you're probably going to know. You're going to find out stuff that you never wanted to know, probably. Like, this is real underworld energy, shadow side stuff that's being unearthed, that's being exposed here. And I do think a lot of people are going to get discovered for maybe what they've been doing behind the scenes in the context of relationship dynamics. You know, if you've been not being faithful, not being honest, it's probably not going to be able to be, you know, kept behind the scenes all that much longer. And again, like, that could be what is causing some of these transformations that are pending in this energy right now as well. So dishonesty in relationships with Venus and Neptune can always be a theme, all right? But overall, and that's, again, there's a multitude to the same extent, so can divinely, like, aligned spiritual connections and soulmates be associated with Venus and Neptune in a conjunction. So, you know, it's not just one thing, it's not just another thing. There's just this multitude of possibilities that can be expressed in the context of any energetic dynamic. So we could see one, we could see both. You just really need to be aware in this energy, you know, of what is real and what is not for you in your world. Okay, so overall though, I do think very fiery day, probably quite active day as well, with that moon Mars energy on Saturday. And then we move into Sunday, which is really the big show of the weekend, and Pluto is the star of that show, right? Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. This is this very revolutionary paradigm shifting energy that is coming into play right now. It's really been building over the course of this past, really since last year when Pluto dipped into Aquarius and then retrograded out. But this will be the first Pluto retrograde where Pluto does, that we've had, you know, in over 250 years since Pluto's last transit through the sign of Aquarius, where he's not exiting the sign of Aquarius as he backtracks. He will stay in Aquarius through the remainder of his retrograde. So we have true Pluto retrograde Aquarius energy going on this time around. And remember, as I also said, both the rulers of the sign of Aquarius happen to be in a tight aspect to the nodes of the moon while Pluto stations. That's telling us that aside from like the powerful impact of the Pluto station in and of itself, there is a cosmic intervention going on alongside of this. Destiny and karma. It has to do with breaking karmic cycles. It has to do with collective soul evolution. Like there's something on a higher level that's associated with this particular Pluto retrograde. Pluto retrograde is not a rare energy, you guys. Pluto spends almost half of his time retrograde. Like 40% of Pluto's transits are spent retrograde. And so, you know, it happens every single year, but it's just the fact that as it happens this year, in the midst of all of these other huge like I don't know what to call it other than paradigm shifting. Like I search for other words because I don't want to be redundant and I don't want to be like hyperbolic or over dramatic, but like it literally is what it is. Like these are paradigm shifting aspects that just continue to come in, like one after another after another after another, totally recalibrating and redefining the way that we are interacting with our electric energetic universe out there and leading to these greater paradigm shifts. We've had so many of them happen over this past couple of years, and we just have more. And because the nodes are so involved in both Saturn and Uranus's ongoings right now, who are the rulers of that sign, while Pluto's entering Aquarius for the first time in 250 years, really, and going retrograde, not leaving the sign, this to me is just really, really like exacerbating the transformative impact that this is going to have on our mind, on the way that we are thinking about things, on our subconscious mind, and on our psyche. There is a majorly liberating dimension to the psyche that's going to come about as a result of what goes on throughout this period of time. And again, that is also part of this larger transition into the age of Aquarius. I'm telling you, the shifts that take place on our mind, in the deeper recesses of our mind, our subconscious mind, throughout this period of time are going to change us internally in such a way that we're no longer going to be acting or behaving the same going forward, which is going to redirect collectively the way that things are transpiring, essentially moving forward. We are anchoring this new energy, this new Aquarian age right now, coming in through the shifts that are going on internally, the way that it's like rewiring our own energy patterns to behave and act differently, with Mars there in opposition. Mars is our behavior, Mars is our action. Pluto, this is like the subconscious mind, okay? So there's some type of subconscious awakening that is likely to occur throughout this period of time that has a super transformative impact on literally how we're acting, how we're behaving, how we're using our energy, how we're thinking about things. And if that is happening on a big enough scale, everything changes. You understand? So it's like this, the small trickle to the bigger snowball to the larger, greater, ultimately evident, like entire paradigm shift. So I think that that is what is being activated on one level as we do move forward through this period of time, and we encounter this particular Pluto retrograde. It's gonna change our mind, transform the mind, which is going to ultimately like really bring in some major life changes and major life redirections for a lot of people, occurring over the course of the next 5 to 6 months. Pluto will be retrograde through October, and then when Pluto stations direct, that is also probably going to have quite a big impact. I think that this transit will make us much more keenly aware of the root causes of our own issues in that regard of transforming the way that we're thinking about things, and therefore what we're going to do about it, how we're going to shift now that we've become aware of something that prior to this moment perhaps we'd been completely in the dark about. There is something here about shining light into the shadows, some type of conscious awakening to what's been going on within our own subconscious mind or the deeper recesses of our mind, that is unlocking something that allows us to become re-empowered to be more conscious about how we're going to be acting and behaving going forward somehow, with Mars in opposition while this retrograde, while this station takes place. Okay, there is an opportunity with this to see the undercurrents and analyze the code or the programming that is existing within like our own deeper nature, and to gain that greater awareness of the like darker, deeper psychological dimensions of our thoughts and actions that enable us to go through this personal metamorphosis. And like as a result of that, I would not be surprised. I bet you guys that there is greater collective interest in like depth psychology and the subconscious mind, and like how the mind and psyche really work over this period of time. I bet you like people that are teaching that type of thing or providing that type of content see a surge in their viewership, because I do think a lot more people are just going to be oriented around thinking more deeply about how, like what is making them act and behave in certain ways, and like trying to get to the root of it, trying to like drill down into their own kind of like complexes about stuff. And you know what? Now that I'm saying that, everything we went through last week with that Grand Cross and fixed signs and the black moon and the sun and Pluto and Mars, like that I do think was also helping us to make some of those like breakthroughs along those same lines, which this Pluto retrograde period could really like bring to the forefront and assist us in a process of Pluto. Also, it's like purify, purge, regenerate, transform, that type of stuff applied to what is like held deep within our subconscious programming in a way that liberates us to see things differently, and therefore like actually shifts our entire world and like our nature of the experience going forward. Again, like I think that this is going to be some type of big life change or lead to that for a lot of people. The Mars opposition, how the ego acts and behaves as a result of the subconscious programming internalized, therefore how do the deeper dimensions of the mind contribute to how the ego acts and behaves? Thinking about that, pondering on it, and then therefore how can we then transform or reprogram the contents of our subconscious mind to promote more authentic, brilliant, creative, like personal self-expression? How can we unlock our like creative potential essentially through our ability to reprogram the subconscious mind? I think that that also on the flip side is going to be something that becomes more of like a study or a practice or a skill or an element of where our focus is as we move forward into this new Aquarian energy, which is an age. I mean, it's an air sign, you guys. It's all about, and Aquarius is about like the ether, like it's fixed air. This has so much to do with our mind, how we're thinking about things, how we're communicating, even like the vision that we're holding for the potential of what things could become. Aquarius is also a sign that's associated with the future. It's associated with the airways. It's associated with also, this could indicate some type of powerful futuristic technology that is introduced or released at this point in time that could have a very powerful impact on the way that we're thinking about things and on the way that we're perceiving our reality as well. Like that could also be a dimension of how this goes. Technology that is introduced now that really just like alters the paradigm somehow. And again, it's probably going to have to do with either forms of energy itself, because remember, Pluto, it rules power. So in all of its forms. So any like power source, like any fuel source that we use to power things is going to be ruled by Pluto. Pluto in Aquarius, this is like power through the ether. You know what I mean? Like this is like 0 point energy. This is like tapping into like the air, like extracting energy from the air somehow in a way that propels things, or the way that powers things. I don't need to search for crazy words there. It's just literally in a way that powers things. So there could be like something about technology or something about innovation or something that comes about with this as well, that has that same type of transformative impact on the way that we're thinking about things, on the way that we're perceiving our reality, and therefore how we're acting and behaving. But with the Mars element there, what I mean to say is I generally just think that people are going to be thinking more deeply about why they act and behave the way they do right now. And as a result of that, I think that themes regarding the subconscious mind and subconscious programming and like depth psychology and stuff like that are likely to be like unearthed or highlighted in a more prominent way as we move forward really kind of through the rest of this year, but definitely through Pluto's retrograde. And then once, as I said, once we get to October, that is also probably going to create some big impacts along those same lines somehow. Okay. So this could also, though, the other dimension of this that I'm kind of thinking about, like it could be kind of some type of inner battle that we are dealing with as well, playing out between maybe the ego and the higher self, like the lower base instincts and what we know we need to do to come more in line with our purpose, like where we're kind of being called to move to, and you know what we know that would require of us with Saturn and the North Node together, and then also the like sudden change or sudden loss that could be making it quite difficult to stay in a fixed place, maybe where we have been, and there could be sort of a push and pull going on within us between wanting to, you know, remain aligned with our current / previous identity, and you know, this shedding of the skin, which is kind of like unavoidable at this point, but also that may not be the most appealing. That's another thing about a lot of this energy. It is because of the Uranian influence here and the Saturn North Node, a lot of it is likely to be presenting as a lot more challenging and a lot more difficult than beneficial. But this is like silver lining, blessing in disguise energy. This is type of energy that it's like, it's not a fun time, but once you do it, you know it's the right thing because things start getting better after that. Again, like I said earlier, it's like intervention, like divine intervention type of energy. Like, is it what we would choose? Probably not. In some cases, yes. You know, people that are, you know, at a point where they're more conscious of the process and ready to kind of surrender to the flow of things and, you know, embrace the new path ahead. Like that's, you know, a different octave of experience. But when we're coming from this from a more unconscious place, a lot of times it's really probably just not going to be the most pleasant experience. This is a lot of chaos, this is a lot of instability, a lot of insecurity. We've been talking all about this over the past couple of months, and you know that persists. We're at a huge point of transition energetically right now. Endings and beginnings, again, these unavoidable endings and these necessary, like forced change is how I sort of felt about the new moon and Taurus energy as well, with the fixed sign Grand Cross that we've got going on. But yeah, the theme of the inner battle could be on display in the context of this dynamic again. But as I just mentioned, I do think the imagery associated with like the snake shedding its skin is very on point, very appropriate for what this time also represents. And you know, it's literally in the stars, like, well, literally in the stars, but we also have the nodes of the moon being, I mean, Uranus is the galactic fixer. Uranus is rules the sign of Aquarius. Uranus is exactly trine in the south node and exactly sextile the north node in Saturn. That is the galactic fixer working, making changes for us we haven't been able to make for ourselves, to actually facilitate our process of growth, remove blockages of growth through helping us to break karmic cycles that have been keeping us trapped in, I don't know, loops of experience that were in some way diminishing our potential somehow. Like that just can no longer go on. Like we have to more authentically re-identify the self right now, and we have to more authentically get an idea of like what we're working with and our resources and our potential and our purpose. Like as we move forth into the age of Aquarius, humanity is going to be called more and more so to self-actualize and no longer to kind of like put it on autopilot and be guided by the external matrix through life, okay? We're gonna have to be more engaged in the outcomes of our conscious experience than we have been as we've been moving through the Pisces age, where it was really all about kind of schooling together under some type of like external authority or of some kind. Okay, that's not the way that things are going to function once we move into this greater next 2,000 years represented by the age of Aquarius. This is about a decentralization of power, and you know, in alignment with that, the empowerment of the individual through this process of self-actualization that promotes the ability to consciously create the experience and the reality instead of being, you know, just kind of like along for the ride at the whims of this subconscious programming that is established by these external authorities in the way that we're raised and brought up. Like that has been the template, that has been the model as we move throughout the past 2,000 years in the age of Pisces. But as we move forward, and I do think, as I said, like we've kind of reached that critical threshold, like that tipping point between where the energetic dominance is lying, as we've been moving through this greater buffer between the ages, which is obviously going to take, a couple hundred years. And I do think that we're getting to the point in that buffer where the energetic dominance is sliding the scales towards the age of Aquarius. As a result of that, we're going to start seeing more things along those lines manifest, and power, now that Pluto's in the sign of Aquarius as well, is also going to be supporting the decentralization of things and the breakdown in with Saturn in the sign of Pisces right now, like the breakdown in the old ways, the old orders, the old established beliefs that contained the paradigm, or that the paradigm of the past was contained within. Okay, so snake shedding the skin here, very appropriate, very fated times, of course, and it's really about, outgrowing our old existence by the time that we do get to October. As I said earlier, I really think a lot of people are going to feel like they are living in an entirely different world than, what their life used to be, the person that they used to be, how they used to see things. I think that's going to shift dramatically for a lot of people. This retrograde to me is inducing, to restate it again, this inner paradigm shift that will translate into an external paradigm shift that is anchoring this new incoming age of Aquarius on a greater cosmic level, ultimately about self-empowerment and unlocking the personal creative power within, with Mars and Leo in the opposition. And on like a more world scale, mundane type of level, I do think that, this is indicating whenever a planet stations, it amplifies the energy of that planet. So we're talking about an explosive weekend, perhaps eruptions, explosions, confrontations, battles could be going on when we've got the Pluto energy on blast. Pluto's also an outer planet. This is a collective energy. So we are likely to see more things transpire that kind of hit on the world stage, displays of power, displays of strength. And as I mentioned earlier, and this is the theme, there is no getting away from this. There is no hiding. Things are being unearthed here. Things are being exposed. This Grand Cross and fixed signs with the Black Moon and Pluto and Mars and Leo and the Sun and Taurus told us the exact same thing. Also, like, this underworld energy, right? Abuses of power, corruption, like wicked actions of any kind. It's all going to be like exposed here, illuminated. Lots of stuff coming out, lots of stuff coming to light that has been going on in the shadows, pulling the strings, acting as a source of power. The hidden power sources here, you guys, are going to be exposed. This is also going to have to do, the sign of Leo, with kings, rulers, elites, celebrity classes. Like, I do think we're going to see the puppet masters here. I think we're going to see the gears in the machine here. I was talking about in my last video, and this is also kind of evident to me, I think this is going to be sort of like the death of celebrity worship culture, celebrity idols and stuff like that. I don't think are going to maintain the same level of influence and power at all moving forward. I think that that is going to become very decentralized as well, and is going to favor more authentic personalities. And of course, the impact of all of this stuff, all that stuff coming to light, seeing the true power source behind things, discovering like the puppet masters that have been, doing their thing behind the scenes back there, that is obviously also going to what? Change the way that we're thinking about things and impact the way that we are acting, that events are taking place, that circumstances are playing themselves out as a result. If we are thinking about things differently, or if we are fundamentally changed in terms of our view of how things work in the reality, that is going to lead to behavioral changes that are going to impact the way that things are happening in the physical world. Also remember, Uranus being in the trine to the south node right now is at the exact degree of the fixed star Algol. Algol is known as the Medusa star in ancient astrology. This star, it has, malefic connotations. It's known as a demon star, and it has to do with just that. Beheading the demon, taking the head off, conquering the fear, slaying the dragon. These are connotations that can come up when we've got a Algol conjunction going on with Uranus there. To me, this is a corrective force, okay? Uranus, again, like, is the galactic fixer. This is in the sign of Taurus, removing blockages to growth. This, I do think, is coming to a point of overcoming that which has held power over us in the past, like taking back power from what has had power over us and maybe was using it in a way that was not to our full benefit, that was detrimental to our growth in some type of a way. Breaking karmic bonds that liberate growth and potential, removing blockages to growth. That's Uranus's whole like MO, okay? To me, any Uranus-Taurus transit is going to have to do with removing blockages to growth so that things can develop in alignment with their true potential, so that they can grow into what it is that they're truly meant to be. Removing the distortion, removing the inversion, removing whatever it is that has been preventing any potential from becoming what it was designed to become. To me, that's how this energy tends to operate. So when we have Uranus in the sign of Taurus, you know, at the L-Goal degree and making aspect to the nodes, there is some type of flush, there is some type of release, there is some type of cycle that is being broken through the context of this energy that is allowing those blockages to be removed. Both of these, South Node and Uranus, are in earth signs. Earth signs, when things take place in earth signs, I always notice that like things actually happen. Like these are, they could be physical things, they could be possessions, it could be resources or assets or relationships or connections. With the South Node in Virgo, this could also be lifestyles or behavior patterns or like ways of eating, things to do with food and nutrition, also with both Taurus and Virgo, that have been limiting, hindering, blocking, or like stifling our ability to be our, you know, most our most fertile and best. And when I say fertile, I don't, you know, I mean it in all the contexts, whether we're talking about creativity, whether we're talking about productivity, whether we're talking about, you know, our general ability to like enjoy the world and to enjoy life, or whether we're talking about like literally, you know, our ability to birth and create life. This energy seeks to prime us for growth, again, that is not going to grow in a distorted way, but is going to grow in a way that enables it to become what it's actually meant to become. This is also having to do, I feel like, with removing distortions and distortions to feminine energy as well, with the influence of the black moon that has also been so prominent over this past couple of days. So universe is supporting us to break the chains that have been capturing our mind on some level as we move through this period of time, probably, you know, throughout the course maybe of our entire lives so far. It's interesting also because we have Mercury, the messenger planet, who does rule thought, communication, ideas, information at 21 degrees of Aries when we have Pluto stationing on Sunday. That's the Aries point, you guys. That is the point in the sky where the planet Aries was discovered, which is also an energy about breaking the chains and demanding authenticity and discord, perhaps as a catalyst for the expression of truth and authenticity. Okay, it's quite an explosive degree itself. The Sabian symbol of that degree is a boxer entering the ring. So even the position of Mercury happens to be at the Aries point. You know, there's only one in the whole zodiac, and that's where Mercury is on the day that Pluto stations. It's another very explosive, energetic dynamic that is, to me, talking about this liberation in the context of the power of the mind. And the position where Pluto stations at 3 degrees of Aquarius, that Sabian symbol is a Hindu healer, glows with a mystic healing power. At its core, you guys, Pluto is a very regenerative energy. Healing root issues, right? Fixing our subconscious mind so that we stop self-sabotaging and start like self-initiating, taking our power back, regaining a sense of personal authority over our lives and over our experiences, and reconnecting with, rediscovering and reigniting our own like personal creative self-expression or personal passion or our connection to our own willpower or courage or strength or motivation on some level. Okay, so I think that we are going to come to have a much deeper understanding of the authentic nature of self as we move through this, and even that is going to be quite catalytic in terms of a lot of these personal transformations that are going on. And a Hindu healer glows with a mystic healing power. Like, obviously there's going to be a healing impact that comes through whatever this transformation is that hits us on these deeply personal and internalized levels throughout this period of time, awakening the sleeping giant within. Okay, I think that is where this is going. We are learning to become our own powerhouses, essentially, and in ways that are going to be much more, we're going to feel much more self-aligned, and also I think much healthier and more fulfilled once we get through this period of time, get through this, you know, really significant energetic push right now, and start finally being able to move forward in this new direction with less sort of the stress and drama that it has taken to get to that point and, you know, through that threshold. Okay, so that's what I have to say today, you guys. That's what I think about the way that this energy is coming together. Friday feels a bit like a walk in the park compared to Sunday. Might be a really good day to take a walk in a park. Definitely a more chill vibe as we do get into the energy of Sunday, Saturday even, you know, things definitely ratchet up, but we know that everything right now is immensely purposeful, and it is moving us in some direction towards something that will ultimately be a better situation for us, even if it's hard to discern it as such in these moments as they come. So anyways, that's what I'm gonna say. Let's get a synchronicity card now. God, Spirit, Universe, what's one final piece of guidance or advice that we should keep in mind as we do navigate through this energy this weekend? What should we tell ourselves? What should we remember? What advice do we need to know? What should we keep in mind? And our card says, don't envy another. This is also probably some pretty crucial information. Pluto can be very possessive, very obsessive. It can bring up things and themes having to do with jealousy, having to do with envy. Also, this new moon that we've been moving through with that fixed square opposite the black moon in Scorpio, also super possessive, also super competitive. These the themes of jealousy and envy could be quite relevant right now. Let your conduct be without covetousness, Hebrews 13:5. Remember, you cannot have that which belongs to another. Instead, wish for something very much like what the other has, but never the very thing. For the time being, be content with what you have. Perhaps things are not as they appear. Again, you know, this makes me think of that Neptune-Venus conjunction in Aries while the moon is transiting through Leo on Saturday, hitting Mars and opposite Pluto. This, again, could have people kind of like on the chase, wanting to go after something, wanting to pursue something because of the trine between Mars and the moon and Leo and Venus in the sign of Aries. And, you know, just be careful that you're not over idealizing something or someone, okay? Another person, another person's situation, and, you know, letting that get you all worked up or spun out or angry or causing relationship conflicts in your own relationships because you're like over idealizing maybe somebody else's perception of a relationship. There's a huge potential that the way that we are perceiving things, the way that things are being presented, the images that we think, the vision that we think we're seeing is not real, is not actually what it truly is some type of like, I don't know, illusion or facade or something. So don't get too caught up in exactly what this card says. I think, you know, good advice for the weekend, because we do have an energetic setup that could be kind of creating some space for that type of energy to maybe like get a handle or get a hold on us. So we're not envying another, you guys. Relevant synchronicity message for the day, and that is what I have to say for my video today, you guys. I hope you liked it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends if you think that they would enjoy this type of astrology content as well. Leave me comments, you guys. I am so grateful for your presence on my channel. Let me know if you have experiences going on out there that are lining up with what I'm talking about in these videos. Very relevant information to me. I really value and appreciate your feedback feedback, what you guys have to say, and when you share your experiences with me. And come back with me. Oh, also the whiteboard. If you want to know what's on this whiteboard, I have a Facebook group linked in my description box below where I post images of those boards. So if you want to see the whole thing, that's where you can find that. And come back with me on, well, I think it's Monday, but I'm also moving right now, you guys, and things are a little bit up in the air right now in terms of my recording schedule. So I imagine that I'll be able to get a video. I'm not sure if I'll have 3 videos or 2 videos out again next week, but I imagine that I'll have a Monday video. If you don't see me on Monday, it's because something went weird with my recording schedule and I couldn't get the video done for some reason, but I will be back on Wednesday if that's the case. But I feel quite confident that I will be able to get the Monday video. So regardless, I'll be back next week. Come back with me. I'll see you guys then. You don't want to miss it. Of course, we're getting into May astrology. May is Uranus season, you guys. So we are in the month of expect the unexpected, and we're going to have things along those lines to talk about next week. So I'll be back to do just that. I will see you then. Have a beautiful weekend, everybody. And until next time, bye guys.